Hi, I'm Tom Scarpello of Revology Cars, and this is car number 211, a 1966 Mustang GT Convertible in Miami blue with Cuoio leather interior. Today, I'm going to take you on a walk around of this car, and we're going to go for a drive. Let's get started. Okay, 1966 Mustang GT Convertible, Miami blue. This is a Porsche color. It is a really sharp color. I really like it a lot. The client chose the black stripe. That's the right choice for sure. This car has a black top. The Cuoio interior is a Ferrari leather. It's the same leather that Ferrari uses, comes from the same tannery in Europe that supplies Ferrari. So a lot of pedigree in terms of the choice of color and trim on this particular car. This car rides on the 17-inch style aluminum wheels, as do all of the Revology Mustang GTs from 65 and 66. GT stripe, GT badging, fog lamps in the front and at the rear. The exhaust tips exit through the rear valance. The 66 models have the GT fuel cap. The 65 models have the standard fuel cap, as they did not have a unique fuel cap in 1965 for the GT. Okay, interior of this car is Ferrari Cuoio. This is the same leather that Ferrari uses. It sourced from the same tannery in Europe that supplies Ferrari. Now, the dash pad is black. This is a Porsche Nappa leather. And the carpet is the matching black. This is a German square weave wool. It's 100% wool. The client chose the 6-style gauge cluster option with the brushed aluminum veneer and the touchscreen head unit that has a reverse camera that's standard. The steering wheel is leather wrapped. That's an option. It has the Revology horn button. The door panel for the GT model is derived from the original deluxe interior door panel. On that car, because it had wood grain, the cluster and the glove box and the console had a fake wood grain. There was also a fake wood grain on the door handle pull, but we've covered that in leather because there is no wood grain on the car. Little detail, but obviously important. A couple of changes that we've made that I'd like to point out. Those of you that remember the original Mustangs will remember the high-low beam switch was on the floor. You activated it with your foot. So we've moved that up to the column. It's a little bit easier to operate, and it's kind of more what people are accustomed to these days. We've also moved the trunk release to the kick panel. We had it in the glove box before. Now you don't have to reach over, open up the glove box and get inside it to get to the trunk release. Always innovating, constantly looking for ways to make the cars better and better. Let's go for a drive. You know, a lot of people tell me, Tom, you have the dream job. And I say, yeah, it's 1% dream and 99% job. But I will say the 1% dream is cruising around Sunday morning in a 66 convertible with the top down. It is sweet, and I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Beautiful day, beautiful car. I just wish we had beautiful roads. I'm sorry, it's Florida. What are you gonna do? Can't have everything. So this car is equipped with run flat tires. We offer run flats as an option because we can't fit a full-size spare in the trunk, because obviously the tire is significantly larger than the original tires were, and there just isn't enough space. The run flat tire technology has really come a long way. Is it as good in terms of performance as a non-run flat? Well, I think if you look at it objectively, like skid pad performance and noise, and you were to measure it, you would find that no, it's not identical. They're not ready to completely replace non-run flat tires, but they're really good, really close. And I think it's a pretty compelling alternative. If you're going to be driving around a lot, particularly if you're going to go on a longer trip, you're away from home, it's kind of nice to have a run flat tire. You give up a little bit of grip and maybe it's a little bit of noise, but it's not a big deal. As we know in engineering, as I say all the time, there are no solutions in engineering, only compromises. You have to choose what's most important to you. So this car, Miami blue, Porsche color, a really pretty color. It is an example of what can be done with modern paint technology. And you know, technology affects us in so many ways. Paint is no different. You know, manufacturers are, obviously working on improving paint durability, but they've also had to contend with environmental objectives. Paint has always been environmentally a concern, and so there's been a lot of efforts to make paint more environmentally friendly, both in the application in the production environment, as well as in the aftermarket repair work after a collision and that kind of thing. That's a technical challenge. Then add to that the importance of paint as a competitive differentiator. Color sells cars. You know, having a really attractive color, I mean, can make the difference between someone purchasing a particular vehicle and not. The OEMs spend an awful lot of time and resources to get the colors just right. You know, they have people in the design departments that's their entire career, color and trim. That's what they do. That's what they specialize in. They follow trends and they try to keep abreast of kind of where things are moving so that they can ensure that their products reflect the most desirable combination of color and trim choices to drive sales. So along with that comes technology, and sometimes that technology makes it more difficult for the people who build the vehicles or repair the vehicles to keep up with. And paint is a great example of that, because a lot of the modern paints, this one included, I mean, it requires a lot of monitoring because certain paints can be more sensitive. The solvents can evaporate more quickly, so they become more sensitive to variations in temperature and humidity, and paint will settle and it has to be mixed. The frequency that you need to mix it could also change. You'll get a different result if you're using a different paint gun with a different tip and a different pressure. So all those variables have to be controlled very carefully, or your outcome is going to be different. What we do here at Revology is when we mix all of our paints electronically, we've got a state-of-the-art mixing room. The booth that we have, it's a heated downdraft booth. It's 31 feet long, so it's large enough that we can get all the parts in at the same time. So we paint everything at the same time. That way we don't have any risk with parts being painted in slightly different environmental conditions. Then we also paint with two painters simultaneously. So one painter is working on one side of the booth and the other painter is working on the other side of the booth. And the reason for that is that we can get through all the parts within the ideal amount of flash time. Flash time is the time between coats. So you apply the paint, then you have to wait a certain number of minutes before you apply the next coat. And one painter just doesn't get around all the parts fast enough to be able to hit that ideal flash time. So just like it's a lot of variables that you need to control. You know, these days, a painter is more than an artist. He or she has to be almost a chemical engineer. It's not just a right brain thing anymore. You got to use both sides of your brain. And that's the key. You know, really the key to be able to do things consistently is you've got to control your variables. You have to have a process. Everyone has to follow that process every single time. Can't do anything by the seat of your pants, so you're just going to get all kinds of different outcomes. You're not going to have a consistent result. So there you go. All right, I'm going to shut up now and just cruise around and enjoy the top down.